Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to the video. And today I'm going to show you how to make flat C-Log3 footage go from this to this in DaVinci Resolve using just 3 nodes. Now I want to start off by saying a few things. I am not an expert color grader. I would consider myself amateur at best, but I have found the steps that I'm going to show you guys in this video to work extremely well with Canon R50v C-Log3 footage. And I'm sure it will also work on any other Canon C-Log3 footage. And the software that we're going to be color grading and editing in is DaVinci Resolve 20. Now I use the studio version, so some of the features being shown in this video may not work in the free version, so just keep that in mind. Now with that being said, let's jump right into Resolve. All right, so before we jump in, I want to go through a quick rundown of what this recording setup is. We're using the Canon R50v. My ISO is set at 800. My aperture is set at 1.8. The lens that we're using for this is the Sigma 16mm RF 1.4, which by the way, for the price, is one of the nicest native lenses that I have found for the Canon R50v that will fit any of their crop sensor RF cameras. All right, now the first thing we're going to want to do is put our nodes on here. By default, you should already have one node already in your color tab. If for some reason you don't have a node, let's delete this. You want to hit Alt-S, that should be the default command to add your first node if you're using Windows. If you're using Mac, it could be Command-S. I don't have a Mac, so I'm not as familiar with their shortcut keys. But from our first node, we're going to want to add 2 more nodes. So I'm gonna add 2 more nodes, and these are going to be what we are working with, is these 3 nodes here. So the way that I generally do this is my first node is going to be what we are going to convert this C-Log over to. And go up to the first node, and what you are going to want to add is a color space transform on that node. And then over here on the right hand side in your effects settings for input color space, we're going to change that to Canon Cinema Gamut. So we're going to scroll down and change it to Canon Cinema Gamut. For input gamma, we're going to use Canon Log3 because that's what we're shooting with. And you immediately see a change. That color has now been added to this, but we're not going to stop there. For output color space, we're going to use DaVinci Wide Gamut. And there's a reason behind that. Now that's going to take the color away. And then we're going to have output gamut is going to be DaVinci Intermediate. Now, as you can see, we have taken this back to a flat image, but not the same type of flat that the C-Log imported in. Now, the reason we're doing this, we're converting the Canon C-Log into DaVinci Resolve Wide Gamut, is because in DaVinci Resolve Wide Gamut, we have much more room to work with colors and things like that. Now, for anyone using Resolve, DaVinci Wide Gamut with DaVinci Intermediate was specifically designed as a universal working space for color grading inside of Resolve, which has a few benefits. It's going to give you fuller color information, more highlight and shadow detail, smoother tonal transitions, and cleaner saturation and skin tones. So you're just going to be able to work with a wider range of information as we go on to the actual color grading of this. If we were to convert this straight to C-Log, we're immediately going to put a ceiling on what data is available to us while color grading. All right, now that we have the first node taken care of, I like to go immediately to the third node. And just like on the first node, we're going to add a color space transform. So let's add the color space transform. And in this one, we're going to pick DaVinci Wide Gamut because that's what we converted our C-Log into. So let's scroll down and DaVinci Wide Gamut. You can see the first layer of color is in. The next thing we're going to do is pick the DaVinci Intermediate. Second layer of color is down. And now we're going to want to convert this to Rec 709 for output color space as well as output gamma. Now, as you can see, the color already looks better than the first node did before we made it convert over to the DaVinci Wide Gamut. Now that we have the first and the last nodes set up properly, I like to go to the middle node because the middle node is where I'm actually going to do all of my adjustments. This is where I'm going to do my white balance. I'm going to work with my lifts, gammas, and gains, any of my color correction, as well as noise reduction. Now, keep in mind, this is just a basic 3-node setup. If you prefer to have more nodes in the middle, For things like white balance, different color correction so that you can have one node for each one, you are free to do so. But for the type of footage I shoot in my studio, I don't personally have a need to do that much extra. So the first thing that I like to do in this node is my color correction. And because of the type of lighting that I use in here, I don't like to color grade off of the standard white box. I think it adds too much of kind of a yellow-green hue, and a lot of that is because of the light that I'm using as my key light. So what I will do is color grade off of the next one up, which is the light gray, and that gives me a fuller skin tone. Now this will be different for everyone. Now the next step that I like to do is work with my lift. This will allow me to go darker or lighter, and again, that is preference. For this setup, I do like to go one down from the regular one, and I don't really mess with gain or gamma too much. Now, this is the node where our settings will be different because based on the footage you're recording, you're going to want to adjust these things to fit the look that you're going after. The first and third node are the most important nodes that you have your base settings for. Like I said before, I don't change a lot of these settings. The next thing that I will do is go over into my motion effects because I do shoot with a darker, lower light in the background, and I shoot with my ISO at 800 on the Canon R50v. I do get a little bit of noise. So I'll come down here to temporal noise reduction. You can either do 2 or 3 frames. I generally set mine on 2, and then I'll adjust this setting here a little bit up to about 9 to 10, and that will eat some of the noise. The other thing I do is come to the spatial threshold, and I move that up a little bit as well, and that will take care of the rest of the noise. Now, something to keep in mind when you're using these noise reduction tools is it will add a little bit of blur to your overall image. Something I like to do personally to correct that is go over to this little guy here, which is my blur, and then I want to come to the little sharpen here right in the middle. And I just like to take my radius and knock it down 1 notch. That will add a subtle amount of sharpening back to my video to kind of add back in what my noise reduction took away. And that's it. For the shot that you see for this background setting that I have, these are all the settings that I do in my middle node. It doesn't take a lot. I don't need to do anything fancy to get it to look the way I do. And it's a huge difference from what it started as. Now, something I will recommend to everyone, that way you don't have to do this over and over, because a lot of people don't realize you can do this in DaVinci Resolve. If you come over to your image and you right click and hit the grab still button, it will create an image over here. And what this is what is called a power grade at this point, because you can use this to go to an ungraded piece of footage like this right here. And if you right click on it and hit apply grade, it will automatically apply the settings that you created for that first image for this next one. All of your nodes are there and all of your settings are set there by default. So once you get a base setting created, you can save it over here in your power grades. That way you have it to use over and over again. Now from here, you can right click on that image, change label, and let's type base C-Log3 grade. That way we know in your power grades that this is a base C-Log3 grade that you can start all of your projects off with. Now that's really going to be it. Like I said, I was only going to show how to do a basic set of color grading for the Canon R50v C-Log3 footage. And for my use case, this has been more than sufficient. So with all that being said, let's wrap this up. All right, guys, that's it. And that's how you color grade the C-Log footage using just 3 nodes. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask down in the comments section below. Again, thanks for watching, and until next time.